Do you feel obligated to fill in every moment of every day with productive work? When you sit down and put your feet up to rest, do you feel guilty about it? At the end of the day, do you judge how good a day you've had by how many things you've been able to tick off your to-do list, how productive you've been? If this sounds familiar, then you are not alone and you are in the right place. I'm Christine, and you're listening to the Living with Margins podcast. This is episode number 13. And today we are going to talk about busyness. This season of the podcast, we've been going through the burdens that we carry as busy Christian women that Jesus never intended us to. And the burden of busyness, I think, is one of the most common of all. Murray and I were in Adelaide at this little chocolate shop. And as the shop assistant was ringing up our purchases that we were buying, she just asked us in friendly conversation, "Busy day?" And we answered, "No, we don't do busy anymore." And the look on her face convinced me that no one had ever answered no to that question before. Being busy, having a busy day is really normal. All of us are in this world where productivity, getting the most done out of every day is really important to us. It's how we judge our value. It's how we judge how good we are by how much we can get done. So we do as much as we can. And the pressure to get more done is relentless. It doesn't matter what job you're in, what profession you have, wherever you work. Getting more done is obviously a really high priority. There's this quote by Gunnar Gunderson, that I saw on Instagram that I've never forgotten. It says, "When work is an idol, rest will feel like sin." When work is an idol, rest will feel like sin. That hits so hard. Because the pressure for us to get more done every single day is relentless. We never ever get a chance to just sit still. And when we do, we feel guilty about it. When we sit in quiet, when we sit in solitude, when we turn off the TV and the podcast and the radio and turn off the notifications, put our phone down, when we sit in quiet, it can be a really uncomfortable place for us to be because often our own thoughts are not pleasant thoughts. Our own minds are not comforting and joyful and peaceful places to be. I remember in the first months after my panic attack, when I would sit in the quiet, when I would spend that time just me and God and my journal, or just me and God and my thoughts, the thoughts that filled my head were thoughts of regret and pain. And they were memories of things that I'd done wrong and conversations that didn't go well and all of the difficult things. And they were the memories, they were the thoughts that filled my head when I had time in quiet. And it took me a long time to sort through those thoughts with God and to come to a place where sitting in quiet was a comfortable and a pleasant place to be. But having worked through that, just the practice of having quiet solitude, the practice of exercising the "be still and know that I am God" verse is such a delight, because it is in those quiet moments where I am alone with my thoughts, alone with God, and I turn off the noise of the world around me. I stop being so productive and trying to get stuff done and sit quietly with God. And that's where I have my very best ideas. We can see from Jesus that he took time, all of the time. It was his regular practice to spend time in solitude and in prayer. In Mark chapter 1, verse 33, we read about a time when Jesus is busy like everybody wants him. He's been healing the sick and teaching about the kingdom of God, and he's a bit of a celebrity at the time. And so everybody wants a piece of him. Everybody is bringing more sick people to be healed. Everybody wants to come and hear what Jesus has to say. And in Mark 1:33, it says this: the whole town gathered at the door. Jesus was busy. He was in high demand. But then the next morning, this is what it says: while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. And we read all through the Gospels, this is Jesus' normal routine. He regularly gets up early, often before dark, and goes to a quiet place where he can sit by himself with God the Father and pray. In Matthew 13, verse 1, there's this really interesting little half a verse in the middle of a busy time of ministry where it says, that same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Here's Jesus, the Savior of the world, in the middle of a busy ministry season, and he takes off in the middle of the day to sit down quietly by the water. That is irresponsible. You get fired for doing that. And yet, Jesus sets his own agenda. He recognizes that time to sit in quiet and think, time to sit alone and pray are important parts of what drives his ministry, of what makes him effective as a preacher and teacher, makes him effective as a human. And if Jesus needed time in solitary, time in quiet and peace to pray and to be by himself, then how much more do we need that as well? The other thing that Jesus had time for was interruptions. Jesus was regularly interrupted. And when you look at Jesus' life and ministry, when you look at his miracles and you watch out for it as you read the Gospels, it's about half of Jesus' miracles that he does, not in his plan, but in the interruptions. When the woman who was suffering from bleeding reached out and touched the hem of Jesus' garment and was healed, that was in the middle of while Jesus was busy on his way to do something else. When Jesus healed blind Bartimaeus by the side of the road, he was yelling out. Jesus was interrupted from his ministry, and he had the time to spend with the people who interrupted him to heal them or to meet their needs or to minister to them. I don't know about you, but I don't often plan in time to be interrupted. And usually when I get interrupted, I see it as an inconvenience, not as part of God's plan for my day. Because usually my plan is all worked out in neat half-hour time blocks through the day of all of the things that I want to get done, the people to meet with, all of my productivity plan, and the interruptions aren't on the list. So they make me feel annoyed. I don't make time for them. And yet we see that in Jesus' ministry all the time. And the third thing that Jesus does that I think we can learn from is the practice of the Sabbath. So in the Jewish culture, in the plan that God gave his people in creation, and then again in the law, it's part of the 10 Commandments, is this idea of Sabbath, where from sundown on Friday evening until sundown on Saturday evening, everyone stops work. There is no more work to be done. There's no buying and selling. Everybody takes time to rest, to worship, to connect with each other, and to connect with God. It was a time to step away from the busyness of the world, to step away from being self-sufficient and independent, to step away from the hustle and bustle, to quiet everything down, to stop work and to focus on God, and to reorient our lives to God and His plan and His provision, rather than just continuing with the relentless pace of the hustle culture that we find ourselves in. Just imagine what your life might look like if you took 10 or 15 minutes, 30 minutes every day to turn off all the notifications and the noise, switch off the TV, to go somewhere quiet and to just have thinking time, praying time, to sit quietly, to talk to God, to listen to God, and just to process your thoughts and think about new ideas and process the emotions and the memories of everything that's been going on in your life. And to do that regularly, every single day or every few days. Imagine what your life would be like if you had time for interruptions. So when the kids wanted to play or read a story, when a colleague needed help, or when something unexpected happened, it didn't completely derail your plan for the day, but you had enough capacity, you had enough margin that you could meet that person's need and see it as an important part of your day and not just an annoyance and a distraction. And imagine what your life would be like if every week you took a day off work. You turned off your email, turned off your computer, left the laundry where it was, stopped work, disconnected from the busyness and the hustle of the world to do the things that refresh your soul, to spend time in worship and prayer, to spend time with family and friends, to spend time doing something creative or something that refreshes you. Read a book, take a nap, paint a picture, whatever it is for you that refreshes you. The things that you look forward to doing when you finally get to go away on holidays. What if you could do those things once a week, every week? Imagine what your life would be like. There's this quote from Matthew Kelly that says, "If you don't have time to pray and read the scriptures, you are busier than God ever intended you to be." Part of the reason that we are so busy is because we are doing too much. We are filling in every moment of every day and not leaving any margin, not leaving any spare capacity. And it's really hard for us to lower our expectations of how much we should be able to get done in a day, to leave ourselves spare margin, to leave ourselves space for reading the Bible and praying, space for sitting in solitude, for being interrupted, space in our week so that we actually have the capacity to take a day off work and to Sabbath, to rest. What would your life be like? If we don't have space for those things, then we're doing too much. So let me ask you a really hard question that's taken me a long time to work out for myself. Just what are you doing that Jesus never asked you to do? What are the things on your list that you shouldn't be doing, that you don't need to do anymore? What are the extra things that are filling your life up so full that you don't have the space to have some quiet solitude, to be interrupted, or to have a Sabbath day where you rest and worship? So that can be really hard to work out, but let me encourage you that it is possible and it is worth it. So that is our challenge. If you have any thoughts to share, I'd love you to leave a comment below and let's start a conversation about what it would look like for us to be less busy, to let go of the burden of busyness. All of my ideas today are in the chapter on Busyness from my book, The Burdens We Carry, How to Live Freely and Lightly in a Weary and Burdened World. If you would like to read more about it, I would invite you to grab a copy. And next week, we are going to talk about the burden of unrealistic expectations and what it means for us to live within the capacity that God gave each one of us. I hope you have a really good week. God bless you. Bye-bye.